Good morning, everyone. This is January 26, 2019. As you've undoubtedly heard by now, Roger Stone got arrested. I find it very, very interesting, the timing, right? And then just hours later, Donald Trump ends up acquiescing to the Dems, right? He ends up opening the government back up. What happened? What happened behind the scenes that would make Donald Trump do a complete turn on that fucking wall of his? I'm sure something happened. Because just hours before, he said he was not going to give in, right? But he ended up doing so. So what happened? And is he still going to possibly declare a state of emergency? I find it very strange, the timing of the whole thing. Here we are. Why is the Obama regime still making deals and meeting world leaders if there was an election and somebody else got elected to do that job? And by the way, I'm beginning to think that maybe there's multiple factions of elitists. Some take one side, others take another, and what we have going on here in this country and around the world are the factions fighting against each other. You know, Democrat, Republican, whatever the political parties are over there in France and England. And there's still elitists on each side. How can a billionaire be considered anything but an elitist? So, former Secretary of State John Kerry called on Trump to resign during a Tuesday appearance at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And by the way, speaking of Davos, these people at that meeting, Davos, they're going to sit there and talk about how the common, average, everyday person needs to give up things like automobiles, air conditioning, and central heating, and the foods we eat, you know, like beef, pork, and so on. While at the same time, and saying it's for the good of the climate. Saying it's to save the planet, right? But at the same time, they're all showing up in private jets that spew God knows how much of the very same materials they like to preach to the masses about into the atmosphere. So, John Kerry called on President Trump to resign during a Tuesday appearance at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Kerry's statement has been carried by many media sources, as well as him being asked if he plans to run for president in 2020. No one is asking the most important question of all. Why is Kerry still attending important world functions and meetings with world leaders? So, since Trump became president in 2016, both Kerry and Obama had been traveling around the world on our dime, by the way, acting as if they were still running the United States. And it seems like maybe that's a very good possibility. Both attended the climate summit, met with world leaders in their own countries numerous times. And yet, there's been a 2-year or more, actually, investigation on Donald Trump for colluding with foreign agents, right? Russia. Yet these guys are going around the world doing the very same thing. And don't get it twisted, I'm no fan of Donald, but when something's happening, right? He being Kerry, even met with Iranian officials and other world leaders to try to save the nuclear deal President Trump scrapped. Presumably, the flight Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and other socialist leftists were going to take recently on an extravagant world vacation disguised as a business trip to visit troops in Afghanistan and other stops in Egypt and Europe, would have coincided with some of Kerry's itinerary. So they're getting together, these socialists, and I imagine some Republicans are involved as well, and vice versa. You know, some Democrats are leaning towards siding with Republicans. This means key people in the former Obama administration are still acting as if Obama were still the president by making deals with world leaders. The meetup with Kerry, Obama, and others by the Pelosi entourage tells us that the U.S. is being governed by two factions, just like I said. And these two factions are at each other's throats right now. And this is one of the reasons why I do believe a civil war is going to happen. That, among other things. Okay, so there's a fact that we have key players from former Obama government still acting as our legitimate government, and many leftists in power now are who obviously recognize Obama as their leader and not the Trump administration. And that should be disturbing to us because you supposedly elected Donald Trump. And as I said from the beginning, Donald Trump, he was placed there to take the rap for the economy falling apart. That's my opinion, and it remains my opinion. It was my opinion from the start. Funny how they didn't do any interest rate hikes or balance sheet reductions during the Obama administration. Then all of a sudden, well, maybe not so all of a sudden, in Trump's administration, they begin unloading these things and raising interest rates. But this is an act of defiance against the current administration and against the people of the United States. You know, you, the voter, the voting masses, the gullible masses who continue to vote for the same shit. You know, we've been doing this for thousands of years, this whole government thing, and let me tell you, it hasn't really worked out all that great for the common, average, everyday person. It's always worked out great for the greedy, the sociopathic, the psychopathic, but never the common, average, everyday person. So there's that. They go on to say that it's a blatant act of treason against the people by the former administration and government officials currently in office. And I agree with that. But then again, every unconstitutional bill ever passed was an act of treason against the people. And here we are. There's massive gun control, massive speech control, massive religious control, massive everything the Constitution was against. The U.S. is and has been in a quiet for the most part. Civil war since citizens outrightly rejected the NWO neo-Nazi mantra in electing Donald Trump not only to make America great again, but to actually make America the United States of America again. And of course, you can't do that with an authoritarian leader, because the United States was supposed to be the opposite of authoritarian. The organized mobs such as Antifa and BLM, financed by George Soros and organized by Obama, whose job it is to put down any semblance of support of nationalism in the United States, most of the time violently shows us we citizens are headed into armed conflict with anti-American factions within our own government. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am anti-American as it currently exists today. I am against anything that feeds into the notion that one group of people has a right to rule over all other people. But this does not make what's being said on the in this article any less true. This is exactly what's going on, and there's going to be an armed conflict in America. And it's not going to be the politicians who shed their blood. They will be whisked away safely to their various locations until the dust settles, and then they're going to come out and try to reassert control over the remaining population. And it's not going to go well for the likes of Antifa or BLM or any of those other groups who think that just going around killing white people is going to be an easy thing to do. It's not. White people are some of the best killers in the world. You should know that. If we weren't, then we wouldn't have conquered Africa. If we weren't, we wouldn't have conquered South America, Mexico, United States, and so on and so forth. Yes, white people have become exceedingly good at killing. So go ahead. Go ahead. And by the way, most of us are perfectly comfortable with killing. Just so you know, perfectly comfortable with it. But the armed conflict will not bode well for the anti-American factions trying to destroy the U.S., as most law enforcement and all military will side with U.S. national patriots. No, they won't. No, they won't. Not all of them. The military, too, will be broken in half. Some will side with the liberals. Some will side with the president. And what we're going to have is military factions fighting against each other and the people fighting against each other until there's not many of us left, and they think it's going to be easy to exert control over the population using the United Nations. And of course, the United Nations will face the very same violence that the control freaks faced. They too will be put into the meat grinder. The people of the United States, the few that fight, will win the battle. So, a lot of stuff going on. So much stuff that I can't possibly keep up with it. And I've asked a dozen times anyway for others to join me on this channel. So I ask again. Make videos for me on this channel. Make videos with me on this channel. And whatever comes of the channel, because you get involved, we'll work out some agreements. I keep my word. But I thought I would share these with you. I'm going to try to find other stuff to talk about. But I don't know if I will, which is why I've asked repeatedly for others to join me on this channel, so that we get a wider opinion, wider array of content, and maybe some more subs, maybe a lot more subs. So, if you're interested in getting on here and talking to me, and making videos with me, holler at me. I have a Discord link in the description box below. I have a BitChute channel for you to subscribe to, just in case this channel gets destroyed by YouTube again. I have a PayPal account for anyone who may think I'm worthy of your spare dollars. Hope everyone has a great day. Till next time, kill the state before the state kills you.